Here's
Recording started.
okay. Dave, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? I'm sure they're asking, can you hear me? Awesome. Got everything started. Okay, excellent day. Got the stream going, and we are good. Okay, hey, how you doing, Matt? Just a quick note before we start this thing rolling. I've been busy. So I have no clue for topics. So basically, as I announced on Twitter, that basically this is a free for all. Stream of thought is what I called it. Stream of thought. So whatever comes on my brain will come out my mouth. Some of the things I'm not so sure you won't hear, but and those I will try to adjust my voice. Okay, so let's get this thing started. Okay, and let's look at this. Give me 1 sec. That was weird. And it's me, it's the one, the only Paul Friends, welcoming you to Starfleet Universe On Call. And tonight we have, well, me, we have Dave, we have Russ, we have Matt, we have a whole bunch of people in the chat room. And actually, I'm going to do a quick check over here, and I don't see anyone in the Yahoo chat. Still figuring that one out. Yeah, well, what the heck? Let's start with a quick overview of that, because I know I've gone over this many times, and I apologize. Just because the one thing, okay, for us to move from TalkShoe would be a big thing. No, I have YouTube chat. Sorry, Russ. I mean Yahoo chat. Oh, geez, Yahoo chat is Yahoo chat is dead. Because Verizon killed it. Thank you very much. Just like AOL, I am, God bless its soul. That it's also dead. So I've not made a decision yet, just because of I know it's a big thing if we're going to move off TalkShoe. I understand that people currently are having issues with TalkShoe itself. So currently we still have the YouTube stream. No one's currently has joined us in the chat room there. The obvious issue with YouTube chat is that you must log in. There is no anonymous guests and so forth. Obviously, one thing we could do is move to Discord. There's only one thing I don't like about Discord, to be honest. And it's a weird thing to say. But Discord is kind of like Slack. And at the moment, I'm less liking Slack every day. Just because it seems, compared to Discord, Slack just seems to be bulkier. It just has a feeling of being bulky and just all in one thing that you use for communicating, which in my mind just, and of course, for me, it doesn't help me that currently I'm using Slack at my job. So I'm using Slack at my job. When I think of Slack, I think of my job, my daytime job, where so I think in that context of sharing information, sharing, okay, what projects that you're working on, what what kind of things are you doing, and that's why I just feel like Slack, it reminds me of this heavy thing that you use for. It's great for what it does. Which is great for communication, great for collaboration. Virtually because you can share all kinds of stuff, which is fantastic. Oh, understood. And Russ says that Russ says his votes for TalkShoe or YouTube, but not a fan of Discord. And I understand that. And sorry, I got, I got sidetracked there for a moment. But the one of the reasons why I don't like the idea of going to Discord is because Discord, like Slack, is the chat is maintained past the time that you use it. So overall, you know, so if we obviously the bad thing about moving to YouTube would be that it requires a login. The good thing about going to YouTube, it requires a login. So, well, actually, that's the funny part is that a month ago, maybe more at this point, I think it was a little more than a month, we had basically a spammer. No, it's not really. It wasn't really a spammer. It's a guy. The way I feel like it was a kid out for kicks, because that's one thing we've had problems in the past with TalkShoe, in that every once in a while you get these kids that come in, say stupid, sometimes racist, sometimes just I don't know, moronic things, and then leave, or they'll stay around unless you block them. Now, of course, the current problem with the current interface is that then you can't do that. The only way you can block people is make sure that you have invites to the people that you want, and then everyone else gets blocked out. Which the original, see, that's one thing why I like the original TalkShoe interface, because it had that flexibility. It really was designed, in my mind, to handle working as a talk show interface, where you have people in the chat room. You can, I mean, it was designed from the way it was great. Functionality speaking, I think it had it dead on. Beauty, was it beautiful? No. Did it need updating? Oh, hell yes. Compared to what it was. But it worked. And it worked great. At least, well, it worked good. Obviously, current one favors heavily on Chrome. And if you're not a Chrome aficionado, then you're not going to like it. Just because it works best with Chrome. And in the case of me, I have to use Chrome to use it for the starting and doing everything for the actual show. And obviously the one thing I know Russ had a concern about by moving off of TalkShoe is that we might lose the stream, for the podcast. But I feel pretty. Actually, I'll double check because I have not done this for a while. Back in the day when we had the old interface, you actually could do this, and that's why I'm him and hawing at the moment. And that is, I feel pretty confident that we can take episodes, we can upload them to TalkShoe, new episodes which have not been previously recorded on TalkShoe itself. So that it wasn't live. It was basically previously recorded via another mechanism, but you were able to add that. Now, I'm not sure if there's any limits on that. I'll look into that. But overall, it is, I like to talk, for the most part, I like TalkShoe, and at the moment, to be honest, that other than that one incident, we have not had issues with people, which is good to see. So that's the one reason why I'm not running from the platform. I obviously I am concerned because there are some people that want to join us and cannot. So I'm concerned there. So, and of course, the biggest issue currently with the YouTube is that, at least for me, is that we don't have an official YouTube channel. I mean, because we don't have one. I haven't been there long enough. I don't know. I don't think it's that. No, I haven't been there long because I actually have been. I've had an account on a Google account for many years. You know, I'm not gonna say 10 years. Actually, I'm not. I don't remember. I think I might. I might be 10 years. Might be since I started the podcast. But overall, I think that uh, the issue is that we until you get like I think 1,000 subscribers, you can't have your own your what are those things called? The URLs, like a vanity URL. That's it. Because I'm thinking vanity plates. So this makes it harder to find us. That's all. And that's one of the good things with TalkShoe is it makes it easy to find us. They'll just say, okay, go. Here is the number 17702. People go to the website. They can find us. So in my mind, that is definitely one of those benefits of TalkShoe, and also we can have people can actually find us. That is something that cannot be discounted, which is the ability to find us. It's kind of critical to things. So, and obviously, also one of the other benefits currently TalkShoe is that it also supports dial-ins, because if otherwise, what we might have to do is more. Because I'm as I mentioned before, I have not tried. I'd actually have to get like conferencing software. I think I looked into it, and I think freeconference.com would probably be the best one to go for what we want to do with it. And I just have to make sure that people call that number instead of calling the TalkShoe number, and so forth. And there would be a minor issue with switching, but not that many people call in. So I don't think that would be a big thing. And obviously, as I mentioned, I give people at least a month's heads up if we actually decide to move off of TalkShoe. But in the meantime, we are here, and at that point, given that, I think we will continue using TalkShoe at least tonight. So, I definitely. When it comes to Discord, I do have a Discord server for SFU Online, and one thing actually on that server is actually that's something I forgot to do. I forgot to post that this evening, which is the link to the YouTube stream, which is I at this point what I need to do is actually create a process. Agreed, Russ. Russ is saying that he agrees that should stay until there's a really compelling reason to move. At the moment, the only compelling reason to move, as I said, is because there's some people having problems with TalkShoe. And here's the real concern. Those are the people that finally, after years, have spoken up. How many people have tried it and failed and just said, forget it? Because the whole idea is that if someone wants to join you, you want it to be a very easy process. It's like sales. It's the same thing. You don't want to require people to go through all these crazy steps to buy your product. Because if you have a competitor who it's an easier process of buying their product, they'll buy the competitor's product just because ease of use, ease of buying it. But anyhow, yeah, I've been trying to help. I definitely have encouraged people to use it. At the moment, there's not much traffic there. There are a couple of people that definitely have joined and stay on there full time, and I stay on Discord full time. Also, there is a SFU on call channel, which Russ and Dave and me, we use that to actually test out the possibility of using Discord for streaming instead of, when it comes to audio, instead of TalkShoe. Because that's when we were having problems with TalkShoe. Because there was one point we did have problems with TalkShoe where there was at least one podcast I had to cancel because TalkShoe was not working right. Now, obviously, some of this stuff is in the past because of that was the previous software, and they were trying. I understand they've been acquired, and they were just trying to keep the old system working while they were working on this. Now, as people know, and I'm sure you remember, is that when we went to this, it was like, boom, snap. They gave us a week notice. And I didn't even know it that they were going to be switching until that day came. And I was like, what? That exactly did not thrill me. Because I have no way of telling people that listen to my podcast that at some point, well, yeah, let's just dial in. And the dial in has changed. It completely changed. The interaction changed. Now, they did give us like a 2 weeks heads up on, here, try this beta out for 2 weeks, and then boom, they went live. It's like, what are you doing? So that one's still kind of, it doesn't rankle me. It annoys me to no end that there were so much in a rush, which concerns me. And I'm just hoping that they'll continue to improve the interface. Some of the things that we have asked for, that I think are completely valid things to ask for, like better controls when it comes to participants, a better way of actually seeing when people enter, when people leave, when people enter and when people leave the actual, TalkShoe room or whatever you want to call it, the live broadcast. So, anyhow, we're still gonna stick with TalkShoe at the moment. I'm still mulling it over in my mind, but we'll just have to wait and see. Now, big surprise, I went on an actual kind of a retreat. Actually, the funny part about this retreat is that I was helping running it, so it's not given that I'm one of the people helping to run the retreat. It's not that much of a retreat for me. At least normally it wouldn't be actually given the position that I was given, which was what it's called. Basically, it's a table secretary. We organized it so that what you could do is what will happen is that we listen to these talks, these let's call them talks, and then we have tables, and what you would do is then you sit there and discuss what you just heard, and in that case, that was one of those things that previously, I'm it's like I'm one of the attendees at that point because I was at one of the tables because I was basically playing secretary. The whole idea is that we would then present a summary of what we discussed, so then we could share our thoughts with the other tables. So it's kind of first we share with each other, so with our tight little group, and then we'd share with the other tables, so that everyone would all that cross pollination of ideas, which I think is great. So actually, it was almost a retreat for me, which is great. Now, given that whole idea of retreat in the case of relating that back to SFB and SFU and all and gaming in general, it's like going to a convention. You know, that whole idea. Other than discussions, which there I know of. When you go to conventions, there are things like that where you have these talks, these discussions about a certain topic. Wow. Sorry, Dave just announced that the Broncos are beating the Cardinals 35-3 at halftime. This is not a good thing. Now, for those people watching baseball, Boston's still winning 1-0 in the top of the fifth. And yes, I'm keeping an eye on the game. I'm not listening to it, but I'm just keeping an eye on it. But I'm mainly focused here. But anyway, so the question always is finding those kind of conventions, because now, okay, this actually it brings up a good question, which is that for games like SFB or any kind of game, I'm just going to focus on SFB because that's what we know. Could we do the same thing for a single game or a small collection of games? That is basically what we had was a relatively small group of people gathered together as a retreat, i.e., we went away, we stayed at a location. Now, obviously, this is not a cheap thing to do, but given that it was a retreat, and so I'm not sure if we could arrange it for like a seminar kind of concept, because that'd be kind of what it would be. Kind of retreat for gamers, strange concept, but the whole idea of being able to put it'd be a little bit different than a retreat in that we probably still let you communicate, still texting and all that kind of thing. The whole idea of a retreat is to turn off your cell phone, put them aside, boom. You turn them off, you don't communicate with the outside world. So you can do some more inward focused work, learn more about faith and all that kind of thing. And, of course, if you're a Christian, building a relationship with God and Jesus. But anyhow, could the same thing be done for like a seminar where you have a small group, let's say 30 people. Let's say 32. Nice little tournament there. And then what you could have is you have times of when people play, give each day you have two play sessions, and then you have in between the playing sessions you have meal times, and possibly with either after the meals you have like a seminar that you go to talk about tactics, talk about different things for either a game or multiple games. Because I would think for a seminar, what you might actually want is each day for each game session, everybody focuses on a single game. Everybody's going to play SFB. Everybody's going to play Ticket to Ride, or everyone's going to play Puerto Rico. Things, certain games that we all are going to play, we all enjoy, and we're all going to play in this, and that's what we're going to do for 4 days. That's all we do. Now, I understand that that concept is hard to would it work? I'm not sure. In the case of certain games, I think you could probably get people to do it. In the case of like, I could. This is one thing I could easily see, and that is, I can easily see someone having a D&D seminar, and that's all they want to play is D&D for the whole 4 days. The only reason I say that is because of I've seen it for the gamers of winter, gamers of summer, and that gamers, the people playing, the D&D play people that come, they'll play it for 2 days straight, and they'll play it for a long time, and I can easily see that kind of thing happening as a seminar with meaning with that format where you have game time, then you have meal time, which is also a shared meal time. So people, the whole idea is that you talk to people, outside of the games, and then you have the seminars, which then you can have, and you can within that. The whole idea of the seminars would be to encourage discussion. Not one big seminar about, this is what, obviously it'll be about what transfer of knowledge kind of thing, where you were try to share what you know and what you know about whatever topic you're going to be doing. But then have the whole idea is then you have these tables. The whole idea is to encourage discussion about what you just heard. And then possibly have the same idea, which is you have each person, you have someone create a summary, and then you present it to all the rest of the groups. No, I said it's kind of a crazy idea. Do I think it could work? Yeah, I feel like it could work for certain games. I think for Dungeons and Dragons, yeah, I think you could do it. For SFB, maybe, because see, here's the good thing about SFB and the bad thing. The good thing is that we got really. I was gonna say ravenous, but I don't. I think that's not exactly the word to use, but highly. People who we got people who love SFB. I mean, love the game, and I think they would be willing to do that. Now, obviously, the bad part is that the number of people are smaller compared to Dungeons and Dragons, compared to, I was gonna say Fortnite, but I think that's an invalid comparison. Just because it's a computer game, computer games are a total different matter compared to board games. So it's an interesting idea, but I think if we had the right number of people, at the very least, you could do it for at least one weekend. Be great if you could do it from if it worked, continue to do it, because Lord knows there are things like what was it? The B conference for security. Some of these other like unconferences. What darn it? I think about there was a conference on programming, and it was I forget what it's been so long. Many years ago, they ran it. These programming guys. It was on Java basically, but what they actually did was they would do something along those lines. To be honest, in that they would have a retreat of some sort. They would actually this unconference, they call it an unconference because that's what it was. It was an unconference. And they have it at a resort, And what you would do is one, you could bring your significant other or family, and they could go out and have fun at the resort while you're there in um, different talks. And these are unconferences. So what you have is a small discussion. You bring up a topic, you talk about it for 10 to 15 minutes, and then after that, what you would do is then you'd have a discussion after that point. So because anyone who's gone to conferences know that some of these long talks, the long seminars that you have someone talking about a subject for like 45 minutes, and then what happens is you rush off to the next talk, the next seminar. And in that case, where do you get the most information, the most interaction? You get it in the halls. And that's why there was a call for the whole idea of a conference. Basically, take all the good stuff that you get from talking in the halls and bring that into the rooms. Because invariably, when it comes to seminars, you don't have time to talk about the subject that you're learning about. You might have time to ask questions, but that's about it. So, I think that'd be a great idea. Maybe along those lines is that have a convention, a mini convention. Invite have 10 somewhere between 10 to 20 people. They all go to a resort, go to a beach, someplace that like basically a vacation spot. But the focus of it, would be playing games. Now, obviously, that would be your focus, and the other focus for other people, you could be enjoying the beach, and what you do is you assign time each day to go and enjoy, what also there at the resort, but all the time you would explicitly set aside for playing games. It's an idea. The thing is, you have to really enjoy that game tremendously compared to, because I see the whole unconference thing, which is why you're sharing information, and when you're sharing that knowledge, you get jazzed about that information. I know I've gotten that way too. Certain information I can really get jazzed about, and I want to share it. I want to talk about it. I want to exchange ideas with people, because that to me that's fantastic. Because that's of course part of my job is that I work on certain things, and there's so many times I would love to sit down and discuss some of what I do with other people that are just as knowledgeable, or better yet, more knowledgeable than me. Because I'm not saying that I'm really knowledgeable. Like in the case, let's say one of the technologies I use is Docker. And my company gonna pay me to go to DockerCon? I don't think so. But overall, I think that that's the kind of thing I would love. I would love to say, okay, this is how I'm using Docker, blah blah blah. And I'm not looking for people to talk about Kubernetes or Docker Swarm and all these other things which are used for coordinating things. The next level, I'm just starting out, and Docker is one of those technologies that we're going to be planning on using, which is one of those things I have to work on the upcoming week again. But anyhow, enough talking about my job. On to the next topic. One thing that obviously just happened is the Council of Five Nations, which was a wonderful tournament. Unfortunately, I was unable to make it up to Schenectady, New York. And one of the things that I always love to do when I've only gone up there once. On the way back, I went to this place, which I'm sure guys understand, which is, of course, Cooperstown, the Hall of Fame, Baseball Hall of Fame. Now, for SFB, currently we don't have really a Hall of Fame, but we kind of do in that we have the rated aces. We consider them our. I'm not gonna. I was gonna say heroes, but I think that's taking it just a little too far. Of course, we have the people who got the gold hats. In the case of the tournament online, platinum hats. Those are some of the best of the best, and we all recognize those players. And I know that Steve Cole is actually got a listing of them. Obviously, I think what would be really neat to do when it comes to kind of our Hall of Fame is if we could actually get pictures of people. They don't even have to wear their gold hats. Just have a little picture of them, in a kind of the Great Hall, a web page, which is something other than just a listing of their names. Was it a little too late for that? Probably. Because of now, the big issue, obviously, is that we had that this all came about. The gold hat and all that came back before the whole technology of the web and all that kind of thing. And I don't think Steve Cole ever thought that, hey, we might actually want to have almost a gallery of these people, because to me what would be really cool is to have a Hall of Fame. This Hall of Fame has the people's, their pictures, their accomplishments when it comes to SFP, and obviously when it comes to the gold hat, the write up of that. Now, obviously, the big issue for Steve Cole is that it's copyrighted material, and that's what's put out there on the caps lock. Now, at this point, I don't think it really matters if someone's posts up a 20-year-old game, breakdown, but it's copyrighted material nonetheless. So, but I think that would be kind of cool. Obviously, if actually that's something that should be interesting to see how it all works out, which is of course VR and AR, which I think everyone agrees that VR is good for quite a few, could be used for quite a few things, though it's still not mainstream. And to be honest, I think the whole thing about VR and the biggest is people are gonna have is that whole glasses thing, because of some people are nearsighted, some people are farsighted. I'm farsighted. That means anything that's up close, I can't read. I can't read worth a darn without my glasses, which is why I have a pair of glasses, and I also they're bifocals. That sounds strange, but bifocals in that the top is mainly meant for computer reading. The bottom are mainly meant for really close books. So one that's supposed to be it's mainly focused for 3 feet away. The other one's focused on like 10 inches away. And my glasses are special. There's times where you really want to feel special. In this case, I really wish I wasn't special, in that each eye has a different magnification. Yay! Which just reminds me, I need to contact the people who created my lenses. Last time, there's a service, an online service that'll create glasses for you. Actually, I have to check to make sure they're still in business. That was last time I had them created was like 3 or 4 years ago. When I first got into archery, and that's why I need them, because I need them for archery, because I can't wear my bifocals for archery. Because the big issue is that if I look through the tops, they're one magnification. Look through the bottoms, they're different magnifications. So just kind of just moving your head just slightly changes things, so it makes things hard to actually target. So that's why I actually have to call up my optometrist and get. I'll probably have to stop by to get what is my prescription. So that I can get glasses for like my upper ones. And as I said, since they're two different magnifications, thank you very much. I actually have to get the professionals. I can't just like go out to the dollar store, to pick up a pair of magnification glasses. So that was a little chasing rabbits today, but yeah, so I think the whole thing with VR, I've I think AR and VR are going to be really cool. The question is, and this is a concern, I think, which is how will that affect our vision? Because most of these VR and AR, at least currently, they're emitted. So it's like, I'm not sure how many people out there have actually read a book on like an iPad or a tablet where everything's emissive, i.e., the lights are the way you're reading it. The lights are just directed the light right into your eyes, versus an ebook reader, like a Kindle, like a Nookbook, like a Kobo, and I think even Sony has an ebook reader, but basically e-ink or even paper, where it's all of the light is reflective. It reflects off the surface, and then you read it from the light then comes in your eye from that that reflection. So to me, I can't read on like my iPad that much, or I can't read on a computer screen for very long. Well, actually, I can on computer screens, but the iPads, when I'm reading a book, no, I have a hard time doing that. When I'm reading on my computer screen, I'm usually not reading a book, which is a different story. And that's why I like reading on ebook readers or physical books. It feels better on my eyes, and my eyes don't feel like they're being strained as much. Well, and just for those watching the baseball game, the Red Sox just got a 3-run home run. So now they're winning by 4-0. Top of the 6th. For anyone out there who've been watching the Red Sox, this changes the game plan for tonight. Originally, the game plan was just, okay, put Price out there. If Verlander is as good as he usually is, we're not going to be able to hit him. Looks like they're able to hit Verlander. So, which means change of plan. Now we're going for the win. We're going for the kill. Because if Boston wins tonight, they're going to the World Series and they'll knock out the Astros. So before that, they were only winning by a single run. So it's like, makes it difficult. But anyhow, moving back. Sorry for that minor baseball sidetrack. Just because I just noticed that there was a home run. That's why I paused there for just a slight moment. But moving forward, this all comes down to communication, in my mind. Because how do we communicate? That's VR, AR. It's about communicating information in a different format. The one thing that I clearly can see VR being used for, and I'm not sure how much is being used for this, and that is the whole idea of data, data visualization. You know, and it's like anything else. It's like reading a good book. A good book presents the information in a well written format. You use the right words, um, use the right tone, and all that kind of thing. Same for data visualization. As they say, a picture can a picture is worth 1,000 words. I want to get the saying right. And there's only one minor issue with that saying. It's not a picture is worth 1,000 words. A good picture is worth 1,000 words. Because you can have a blurry picture of somebody, and that's worth nothing. But you have a good picture, a picture of, you know, a mountain with, in the proper background, proper lighting. Unless it's worth 1,000 words of describing that beautiful view. But all you're seeing is garbage. Not worth anything. And that's why data visualization is such an important thing. And getting that visualizing the data properly, so you can communicate that. And as I said, it's all about communication. So, given that, what's one of the things that we obviously need to keep use to communicate, use to stay together, and crazy idea. And that is, I know that actually Les LeBlanc has been trying for a long time to keep things going for almost, to a certain degree, SFB evangelization. It's a strange idea. That is, because here's the thing. Any evangelization, any way of getting out the word, what is the first requirement of that? The first requirement of that is that wholeheartedly you're excited about it, about what you're trying to present. In the case of Christian evangelization is about loving Jesus so much that you want to share with others. I mean, really, this is not about just telling people about who Jesus Christ is, because I'm sure there's a lot of atheists out there that can tell you who Jesus Christ is, but they don't know Jesus Christ. There's so much more there. But people who are truly evangelizing, Christianity, are going to really, they love Jesus. They're all in. They're all in for Jesus. In the case of a game, you have to be really excited about the game and how it works, because that's one of the things that I've always liked about SFB. I'm not I'm not saying I'm an SFB evangelist, though. It's one of my favorite games, and the reason why it's one of my favorite games, and of course, I'm sure this kind of helps in this regard, and that is that I was introduced to the game earlier on in my life, so tied into the excitement, the understanding of how SFB works and how it plays, was my initial, not conception, but my initial excitement about it, which was that it's a game which the rules describe a more realistic, quote unquote, realistic. How it's like saying science fiction is realistic. Actually, okay, let me back up on that statement. Science fiction. Listen to what that is. Science fiction. Science fiction is based off of science. but science pushed to its limits. Assumes this, bum, 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 bum. You go down that avenue, you go down that track. How far would science go for this? Assuming you do this, obviously you can abstract it out, not abstract it, but you can go leap further and further out. But you assume certain technology can be created and you move forward from this. The whole idea of case of Star Trek, the whole idea of a warp engine and how that works. But it's one of those technologies that's to a certain degree can be. I'm not sure if that one can be considered science fiction, but many things like for Ken Burnside, I think was it David Webb? Yeah, I think it's David Webb with on a Harrington series. And if I'm assuming here because I'm pretty sure that what Ken Burnside created when it comes to his what's you guys remember what Ken Burnside the gaming system was called? I forget. But overall, the whole idea of it, I think on Harrington's what Ken Burnside does with the whole idea of heat sinks and things like that is science fiction. The whole idea, a lot of what his ships are based off of is science. That okay, you fire your weapons, that's gonna create heat. That heat then has to be somehow dissipated. And usually, what you have is you have these heat sinks that absorb the energy, absorb that heat, and at some point, even those can only absorb so much heat to a certain degree. Then you have to basically open up your you can open up you put your heat sinks on the outside so then they can radiate out and cool, and then you can cool off, and then you're good to go. And usually, Ken Burnside explains to me, which is in that universe, if you basically open up your doors and bring up your, put out your heat sinks, that's surrender. Because if anyone shoots them off your ship, you're dead. You can't fire anything else afterwards, but that's a way of showing surrender. But anyhow, but then again, that's science fiction. Then you have science fantasy, which is these, the whole idea of these universes that are created, which have no basis in science whatsoever, and those are more. That's what are called more science fantasy in that case. So, where was I going with this? I don't remember. I got sidetracked by the whole idea of science fiction. But with communication, and the whole idea of being excited about okay, I know that's how I got there. Okay, I was talking about how realistic the rules were, but they make sense because another thing was, of course, they're coherent, and they made sense. Speculative future, well, man, isn't speculative future still science fiction to a certain degree? I mean, at least what science fiction is supposed to be. What science fiction is today is more not always science fiction. It's a lot of times it's science fantasy is what it is. It's so that people don't normally separate the two, and if they clump it all together. That anything that has a technological basis. Anything that has a technological basis, people call that science fiction, and it's not really science fiction. It might be science fiction, or it might be science fantasy. But anyhow, yeah. Thank you, Matt. another point, which is again speculative future, which is I think that's definitely I consider it as science, truly science fiction. Though somebody tells me that in terms today, if you want to actually call something science fiction, you have to call it speculative future to really define exactly what you're talking about. A story about a possible future when it comes to our future. Like geez, that's awful. The wonderful TV show I like so much. I forget it now. And I'm not talking about Mr. Robot. Dang, where we actually it goes from science fiction to science fantasy. And when it comes to when we start getting into the aliens. Because I'm not sure. Actually, there could be still science fiction. I just don't know the basis of the alien technology, what that's supposed to be. But anyhow, moving forward. Dang. I feel. Yeah, Matt. Yeah, okay. Matt's saying that a lot of the Highline stuff he sees it as speculative future, and yeah, basically that's what it is. And I think you have to explicitly say speculative future because of, as I said, the whole idea of science fiction has gotten watered down to the point where most people, when they say science fiction, it's science fantasy. You have to say speculative future to clarify exactly the category of science fiction that you're talking about. So, anyhow, I think actually we will wrap up with that little discussion. Went all over the place today. Had a quick update. On my thoughts on TalkShoe and the like. Talked a little bit about a crazy idea for a seminar weekend where you just focus on playing games. Oh, Dave, I totally agree with that. That Dave's mentioned the science fiction, Star Trek, science fantasy, Dune. Yep, I agree there. And finally, of course, the debate, the great debate about science fiction versus science fantasy, and how the whole idea of wanting to almost evangelize SFP, the whole idea of getting people excited as you are excited about playing SFP, about playing a game, whether it's SFP or FedCom or FNE or whatever, and bringing those people, bringing them to Jesus. When it comes to SFP, and it's kind of crazy. And with that, I am Paul Franz, and I bid you a good night. And we're out. Not the greatest podcast in the world, but I think that went quite well.